Hi, this is Jordan Moorhead, and this is Austin Real Estate Investing. Today we have Lance Maddoux here with us, and he is going to tell you all about his experience inspecting homes in Austin, as he runs a big home inspection company called LGM Inspections, and they help tons of investors and homeowners with that process. Hey, Lance, how are you?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. Jordan, I appreciate you allowing me to be a part of this. I'm very excited. Yeah, it's been an amazing adventure starting up, home inspections, especially in this market, and it has been a wild ride. Any kind of information, any kind of way I can help any potential buyers. I know the landscape out there is hairy, to say the least.
Yeah, we'll absolutely dig more into that. So real quick, who are you? And you kind of talked about it, but how are you involved with the real estate process?
Well, again, like you said, my name is Lance Maddoux. I'm the owner of LGM Inspections. We're a company, I would consider us a mid-sized company. We do roughly about 1,000 inspections a year. And at that point, I've got a team of 3 other inspectors, full office. At the end of the day, our goal is to make sure our clients, are knowing what they're buying, just to give them a full sense. So the transition is as smooth as possible. Past that, I've been in the business a little over 10 years. I was brought into it by a 30-year home builder who has joined with LGM Inspections. He's one of my lead inspectors and confidant and go-to guys, and just has been an invaluable resource. And, his name is Bill Taman. And it's just, it's been a dynamic duo from the start. And then, of course, as we've grown to, kind of cater to the landscape, we have Jeff Deal and Mark Vanover as my other 2 inspectors, again, all well seasoned, and, passionate. That's the most important thing. You have to be in our business, customer service related as well. So.
Yeah, no, I know Jeff's done a bunch for myself and clients of mine, and always really there to make sure people really understand exactly what's going on with that house and what to look out for, really. So
Absolutely. I mean, you never know what you're going to walk into. I mean, sometimes people buy, a 2018 build, a 3-year-old house, and it's funny. I see some clients are like, we didn't even want this inspection. And you'll get up into the attic as the inspector, and for the most part, it might be a fairly clean inspection. It's what we call a house that doesn't have many deficiencies, as you all know. But we'll get into the attic space, and sure enough, the furnace will be in there, and there'll be a gas leak as soon as you open the attic space. And you're just like, immediately you're talking to the sellers, you're talking to listing agents, you're talking to your buyers, you're trying to calm everybody down, but at the same time you're trying to get the gas company out saying this is an issue. It doesn't happen often, but it's definitely there. I mean, we have seen some pretty, let's call it, interesting things. So in the landscape, I mean, I know everybody has to move so fast right now, and I know that's what makes everybody's job a little more difficult. In the home buying process right now, you've got to buy homes, almost sight unseen sometimes, just to be able to compete with all the other offers. So of course, we make it our duty, if our clients are going to have to go through that headache and hassle, we're going to be there every step of the way, meaning we're going to get out there as soon as possible and just, again, try to get in there and inform first and foremost. And second, just explain, like you said, because you can get a 30-page report of just information, and of course without the proper context that can be misleading. So
oh yeah, and it can be really scary too. I tell buyers, make sure you talk to your inspector after the inspection, and don't just wait on that report, because you get that report and you're like, man, this house is going to fall down.
Yep.
This is terrible, I can't buy this. But if you talk to your inspector, they'll tell you actually what the issues are and what to look out for, and maybe what's just normal wear and tear on a home. So yeah, I
no
think you guys do a really good job in talking to people after the inspections and explaining what's going on, what you should really be concerned about, and what you really just don't need to worry about so much. So I like that with home inspectors a lot.
Well, I'll say this, and kudos to you for that. And I'm not just saying that because we're doing a podcast together, but I have literally been a part of other agents and agencies, high-profile agents that they want the report, they get it out, and I never even had an opportunity to talk to the client. And then I get a phone call like, my clients are scared. Yes, send them over to me. Let me talk to them. I will explain everything. There was only 3 things on this report that I really felt just required immediate attention and were very pertinent. And, again, 3, there's obviously, as home inspectors, it's our goal to inform. And, we get that side of things to where we want to be extremely thorough. We want to nitpick and we want to, rip that house apart. But on that same token, it is imperative, if we have that mindset, if you have a very thorough inspector, you have to divulge that information. Because otherwise, if you don't have any context, if you're a first-time home buyer, at that point, you're going to start reading all this information and it's going to get away from you. So, so good on you for referring back to the inspector, saying, talk to him first before you have a meltdown. So,
yes. Well, and especially a lot of the people that I come in contact with are investors. So if you look at a report and say this house is terrible, I can't buy it, and there's actually only, like you said, 3 issues in there that really matter, then you might have missed a really good deal as an investor by seeing a report that scared you away from buying the deal. So, I know you guys have done a lot for me in the Austin area. What is kind of your range of areas that you work in around Austin?
Well, typically we stay busy enough in the Austin area, but we don't really have a range. I say that loosely. It kind of depends on the property. I love a challenge. We see, we see different types of structures, homes, commercial, properties. We see it all. Here recently, actually, Friday, I'm going to Houston. Now this is for a friend who's in the real estate business, and she's transitioning over there. So I don't get out to Houston often. I don't want that market right now. I don't have the inspectors to take it on. But that being said, again, where our clients need us, where our agents need us, if we can do it in the time frame you need it, and the time frame obviously the client needs it, then we're not going to say no. And then I would hate to limit. We just did a lodge on a 6,000 acre property down near the coast. It was roughly 14 buildings, including the lodge. I mean, you had a deer processing plant, bunk houses. I mean, it was wild. And it was an awesome experience. It's something I'd never seen before in 10 years of doing this. So we try not to limit ourselves because we need those structures, those homes, to get us away from the cookie cutter everyday norm. While everything is fun and it's exciting and it's interesting, when you start doing the same thing, it kind of puts you in not a rut, but a mindset. And you need to break yourself out of that mindset, because that's what makes an inspector, that's what sharpens our tools, is seeing those different structures, always, keeping us on our toes.
Awesome. So I guess, that leads me to my next question. What types of properties do you inspect? Because that's kind of way out there compared to just like you said, a cookie cutter house.
Well, I'd say 90% of our business is going to be traditional, residential. Anything from 1,000 square foot condo all the way to, on average, I would say the biggest we typically do weekly is probably around 6,000 square feet. Yeah. We definitely have some high end market, and those are always fun. And then I would say 10% is going to be ranches, commercial, and just the kind of the out of the blue structure. Some of those unique, like tiny homes or bungalows, tree houses, literal tree houses, like 2-bed, 1-bath tree houses. So yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, again, 90% is going to be residential, ranging everything from 1930s all the way to, brand new builds. Then of course we've just brought, in the past year and a half, phase inspections, which is actually inspecting at the building process. So before you pour the foundation, before you put the insulation and the sheetrock up, and then of course the final inspection. So we see a lot of new builds going up, and most of the builders are doing pretty good most of the time. So, but there are those few that, we have to hold accountable.
So I'm interested in that. Could you tell me more about the phase inspections? I don't know much about that. I know there's different phases of building a home, framing, electrical, all that stuff. But could you tell us about the phases that you inspect?
Absolutely. So it depends on the inspector. At least for my firm, I have 2 inspectors that have had training, with the phase process. I would consider us more of a QC, QA type of inspector. We do use code. We use the RSC 2018, the same as what the city of Boston, but you start getting those surrounding areas. Georgetown, I believe, is on 18, but you start getting those outliers like Gerald. You can start finding that they're only abiding by RSC 2015. Without getting too technical, our goal is to go in 3 days before the pouring of a foundation, before the concrete, and we want to inspect, let's say it's post-tension, we want to inspect those cables. We want to make sure that the builder is cleaning the trash out of the beams that could lead to voids, especially in areas, you and I both know there are pockets in Austin that have very expansive soil. You want those beams to be as structurally sound as possible. And, we can only assume that they're going to do that, but you want to hold that accountability, and you want to make sure that there's that point of reference. So before they actually start pouring the concrete, which again, you will never see those areas again, and I hope you don't, unless there's an issue down the road. But so we, as at LGM, we want to go out and we want to inspect to make sure that there's a quality product in place for our clients. So we will look at plans, we will use code, but it's not really a code inspection because primarily in our area, we have code inspectors that will come out and do that, city inspectors. At the end of the day, it's hard because we can't yell at the builders and give them red tags and say, shut down, construction. Our power lies with the voice that we have with our clients saying, hey, the guys are doing a really good job, but these are areas that they're failing in. You need to back this up. You need to make sure they get this done. So it empowers our client to do so. Same thing with a phase 2 inspection, which is 3 days before sheetrock. Ideally, it can be within a week, but you want it close enough to fix problems, not too close to push out deadlines. So that's the idea with all phase inspections, at least for our side. Again, we use plans and we look at those plans, but we really use our knowledge of how structures should be built, and it does go very in depth. I mean, obviously, if you look at an IRC book, I've got the commentary right here, and it's, I don't know, 6,000 pages.
Oh, wow.
So, and we're trying to infuse all that knowledge into our brain. And there are some inspectors out there that are what they're called ICC rated inspectors. Those are essentially your code inspectors, and they're going to be well versed with the IRC. And again, we're moving towards that, but we found that our strength lies with making sure our clients know what they're buying, holding the builder accountable. And so far, it's been a wonderful transition. We've only had a couple builders, come back and they were flustered. I mean, obviously these guys have 20 to 30 homes under their belt, which is, I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy, but they're just strapped down and struggling. And that's good for inspectors. It's bad for the consumer, obviously. So until things kind of balance out, we want to make sure we're giving a product that is going to once again empower the client. It's going to inform them. It's going to make sure that they feel comfortable that first day that they move in or when they sign that check, before they rent it out, especially if it's an investor. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I did not know anything about that, so I learned something new today.
awesome.
Yeah, I obviously have been through, those walkthroughs. You're doing the framing walkthrough. You're doing some of the more final walkthroughs with the builders, but I've never known that I could have a home inspector come look at it for me. I always recommend that people, obviously, no matter the age of the home, get a home inspection. So if it's brand new, not even done being built, get a home inspection. But obviously, if it's older and has older systems, it's another thing you really want to think about. Which, I think that's something we could talk about here too. What are some older systems, maybe electrical, plumbing, roof related, that you tell people to look out for?
Oh, that is a wide, varied question. I mean, we're looking at all the systems. I guess to jump into it, obviously, when it comes to electrical, like my personal house is a 1979 build. It had not been remodeled from the day that I moved in until the day I remodeled it. Meaning, I dug into this, and again, kind of harping on electrical. If you go into a house like this, in an old established house, I mean, you get the lot, you get the trees, you get the size, you get cool houses if they've been maintained. And that's the most important thing, before I really hop into that. It's always nice to go into a house, and if you love it because it looks nice and feels nice and it's been loved, that is honestly the best compliment I can pay any house, and of course any homeowner. But just know this, for all those who don't, as soon as you start opening up walls, as soon as you start opening up those electrical panels, depending on the age range, you are going to find some nasty, nasty things. Now that could just be outdated wiring practices like double up neutrals. All inspectors, all Trek licensed inspectors are required to note on. To this day, 3,000 plus homes later, I do not know of a single client that's ever repaired double up neutrals. So it's just wiring. Like I said, outdated wiring practice. But it's when we start seeing those overheated wiring. It's when we start seeing those wiring practices that are prone to overheating and potential fire hazards. Again, those things that might get lost in a very large report right in the middle of the text. Some inspectors will embolden it. Some inspectors will just talk about it. Some inspectors never say anything to anybody. So again, going back to what you initially said, you defer, your clients back to the inspector. That is the smartest thing that, that can be done. So that way a game plan can come up. Now you're savvy, so I know you educate your clients and help them and walk them through that process. But again, it can never be reinforced enough. So going back into it with the electrical, like my personal house, I found that I had a 30 amp breaker running my cooktop, my wall mounted oven, and possibly the microwave. I don't know how it never popped. I don't know how my house didn't burn down. But again, so when I started wiring up my house, of course I had my master electrician with me. He's like, Lance, hey, come here, check this out. He just looks at me. He just starts shaking his head like, you are so like, how long have you lived in this house? I do not know how it hasn't burned down yet. And I'm like, Jimmy, I love you to death, man. Thank you. So obviously, we're opening up those walls. We're getting to those circuits. I'm having a great time doing it, because no matter how much we know and how long we've been doing it, we are the enforcers, the overseers in the rule. We're the ones who know the rules. But it's when you get your hands dirty. All that knowledge finally comes into place, and you kind of see how it all plays out, and it's awesome. The most important thing, though, is not everything has to be done. Just because a home inspector is calling it as an issue, there are, again, outdated practices, grandfathered rules, old code, however you want to call it. There's just some things that don't necessarily need to be updated until it becomes an issue. Or if you just take your house down to the studs, and at that point, why would you not do it?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the most important thing, because I have had clients in the past, and they're like, well, this is not to code. This is not to code. This is not to code. We got to fix this. We got to tell the seller we're going to negotiate for this. And I just want to give them a hug. And I just want to, It's like, you need to talk to Jordan on this, not me. No, I think that's the most important thing, is that people need to understand not everything is a health hazard. Not everything is going to burn down your house. And there are a lot of molehills. Not everything is a mountain. So again, and the majority of our reports are going to be molehills. But those molehills, I promise, will turn to mountains one day if left unchecked. And that's another thing I try to educate people on, is what you can do today for $5 is going to be $15 tomorrow, which is $50 next week, which is, a lot more next year. So, it's, again, we're just trying to set up everybody for success. But as far as the systems, I mean, we're trying to find mold. Nobody, well, I can't say nobody, most of us that I've come across, in my years, are not mold inspectors. We just have seen it. We've been around it, and we're not allowed to say that word, by the way. So yeah. Let me take that back. Edit that out. Unknown dark substance. So we are trying to find those substances that smell earthy. We are trying to find overheated wiring. We are trying to make sure all your systems are running, to the nines, even if they are 30 years old or 40 years old. And then we're trying to explain to people, you have the 1 in 1,000 water heater, the 1 in 1,000 HVAC system that's still running after all these years. And then they're like, of course, I want a new one. $12,000, Infinity, Carrier Infinity, just an awesome AC. I'm like, well, that's kind of difficult because it's still doing a good job. And it looks pretty good, but again, it's rare. I will say this, trying to explain to people again, expect the day that you move into this house, it's going to break on you. Yeah. Just expect it. Plan for it, but you may get another year. You may get two. You just never know. Some systems are out there. When I remodeled my house, I had two 40-year-old water heaters. 40? They were 40 years, 79 and 80.
What?
Seriously.
I've never seen that old.
Me either. I was the 1 in a million. And even when I took them out, I give them a high five every morning. Great job, guys. Way to kick it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when you do a remodel, some things have to go, even if they're still working. I'm sure the efficiency, that probably alluded to why I had a $400 electric bill every month. So
That's wild.
It was. So, but I guess to sum your question up, after this lengthy explanation, we're trying to hit a house top to bottom, left to right. We really want to get our eyes on every single inch of that house. And we're really looking at every single appliance that you could imagine a brand new house would have. So obviously refrigerators, wash machines, dryers, we don't look at things like that. Water softeners, so those kind of extracurriculars. But your base appliances, obviously the HVAC system is one of the most important, especially in Texas. Water heaters, all that. We want to make sure that the installs look good, the functionality is good. And again, our primary goal is the day that somebody moves in or buys that property, it is as seamless of a transition as it possibly can be. And if there's any hiccups, they know about them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like what you said there. And I've seen a ton of inspection reports, and really a lot of it is just, hey, this is what you can do as preventative maintenance to keep this property going really well. And when it comes to the appliances like the furnace and water heater, nobody ever replaces that stuff until it breaks. So yeah, don't be surprised if you see a water heater from 1979. That's probably not going to happen to many people. But
no,
apparently, I mean, you didn't replace it. You bought the house. Sounds like you lived in it for a while. Yep. Didn't replace it until you just were remodeling the whole house. So
it never gave me any issues. It never leaked. It never went on the fritz. Every morning I woke up, turned on the hot water, take a shower. I could take a 25-minute shower almost on the dot. After that, it went cold. Wow. And I learned to live with, what I had. But at a certain point, I'm trying to make my house personally more efficient. And again, in Texas, with the level of heat, with our electrical grid infrastructure, all those worries, it's wise to, make your home as efficient. as possible. You know what kills me though is the one improvement I should have done the day I moved in. I mean, I've been in my house for 10 years. And again, it kills me because if I knew then at, day one, what I know now, I could have made a $700 improvement in my insulation in my attic. And I could have changed my thermostat on the wall and saved at least $150 a month on my worst peak months in electric. That's thousands of dollars that I just handed away.
Yeah.
So
that's wild.
Those are the things we're trying to educate our clients on these days, so we can essentially save them from the issues that we've already lived through.
Absolutely. So when it comes to reading the inspection report, how do you recommend that somebody read their inspection report? If they've talked to their inspector and then they get that inspection report in their email at 7 or 8 p.m. at night, how do you read it?
Easiest way, it kind of depends on their level of comfort, meaning how many homes have they owned. If they are savvy, they know houses very well, they just want to know exactly what it is, I'm not going to educate them or teach. They know enough to be able to read through the report, disseminate the information. And then it kind of goes from how savvy to first-time home buyer that is walking in, they're young 20s, buying a 1930s unremodeled house. Mm-hmm. And again, these are your clients. You want to give them a hug because they are gung-ho. You see that that fire in their eyes. We're going to fix everything. We're going to do it all ourselves. Like, come on. So for those, you can start seeing the fire in their eyes die as they start reading that report. Just that enthusiasm turns to fear immediately, especially on something like that. So for those type of clients, I always try to advise guys, get a glass of wine, shot of tequila, or beer. If you drink, start off with one of those and then take my summary page that is just pure deficiency information. We only put deficiencies in our summary, no, extracurricular information at all, and just read it because you're going to read probably 4 to 6 pages of just information. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be overwhelming because you're going to start reading through it and notice, well, they're calling out my doors don't latch because of strike plates. Oh, we got lights that aren't working in the bathroom. Some very small minor improvements. In most of those reports, you could knock off almost an entire page with a tube of caulk. So I know it sounds silly, but that tube of caulking is going to prevent water from getting in your house and you having moisture damage and mold, all behind a wall system. So, while I laugh about it, those call outs, are to me, very important because I've seen what happens to those older homes or even newer homes that don't have that. So easiest way, start with the summary page, work your way down, kind of, take it in bites. And then start from page 1, the structural systems. And that way you can start seeing pictures. And if you ever kind of get to the point where you don't know what an inspector is trying to convey, pictures are paramount. It is our duty and a job to come up with the best pictures to explain something that, is not commonly known, whether that's for an agent, client, investor. Obviously, investors want to see, if they're out of state, out of town, they're going to want to see those pictures because they'll give them a great idea of what they're buying, because we all see pictures online on Zillow and those home apps, and they're beautiful. And I tell you, it's rare I'll actually get in a home after seeing all those beautiful pictures that it looks like that when I get there. So
that's my job, is to make it look beautiful online. And of course in person, but we try to make it look as good as possible online to get people into the house.
Well, you do a bang up job, everything I'm seeing, because those things are gorgeous.
Yeah. We've got a few not too gorgeous ones coming on this week, so you'll see some more that don't look so great.
That's the season, by the way. With everything, with the amount of houses, I guess the low inventory, we are seeing the wildest houses, just massive quantities of deferred maintenance. Mm-hmm. I've seen some doozies. I mean, the oldest home I've ever done was 18 1890s plantation home out in Cameron, Texas, like 5,000 square feet. Just to kind of give you a sense of what I walked into, the foundation and wall repair, which the wall was shiplapped and plaster and all that good stuff, over $500,000 worth of repair, just the walls and foundation.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I've seen some doozies. Now it feels like I'm seeing 1890 homes at least 3 times a week. I mean, it's crazy what's going on. I mean, people now know, because it's a seller's market, they're like, I'm not going to fix this, and I'm going to get top dollar. So I see the advantages for certain people. And it's, yeah, again, it's a crazy market, but no, it's what I'm saying to you is those homes that you just talked about, that's commonplace right now. That is, we're seeing it day in and day out. So
awesome. Lance, what's your advice for people looking to buy in Austin on things to look out for? So I know we have a lot of foundation issues here.
Sure.
On that, what's your advice for people to look out for in Austin?
Well, I'd say this, and it's funny because I do have this conversation, more often than not. Clients love to ask the inspector, should I buy this home? Would you buy this home? They have all these little variations of trying to drag out a personal opinion from somebody who is trying to be abstract, somebody who is unbiased, and somebody who has never seen that property or not may have any interest in that property. And I try to explain to people, it depends on price point. It depends on what you're buying, what your goals are. So ultimately, to answer your question, I don't think there's any bad property in Austin. Mm-hmm. I don't see it. I've seen this, I've seen the market, and, it's funny because the old joke between inspectors and agents and, everybody in the industry, oh, we got 3 more years. In 3 more years, everything's going to change. Oh, it's going to fall in 3 more years. And, obviously I've seen multiple iterations of that, and it's only gotten wilder. It's only gotten crazier. And, it's just the influx of people coming in. It's such an awesome town. I spent my whole life trying to get to Austin. I'm from Waco, so, hour and a half away. And, from there, I tried to go to UT, and then I saw the rental prices in the late 90s, and I was like, nah, I'm not going there. I can't afford that. I paid my way through college. And so I went to the school across the railroad tracks. I don't want to say this because I'm going to push a lot of potential business away, but A&M. So and so the funny part is, the whole time I've always been trying to get to Austin. And the joke I love to tell people is I brought everybody with me. Because I tell you, there was that influx from like 2010. I swear everybody's like just descended on Austin. And, right after that 2008 housing boom, or bust, I should say. And so I got in this business right after all that craziness. And every year it seems like, we're doing about 15 to 30% more business depending on the year. And even during, COVID, we had that when everything locked down, that first week in March, I was concerned. I pulled back office hours. I told everybody, hey, we'll share inspections. We'll do whatever we can to, survive this. We're all a team. We're all a family. And, we're all going to find a way to make it through this. So at that point, we had a slow week. I think we did eight inspections that week. And then the week after that, it was on like 30 inspections. It came down, and like we couldn't breathe. It was beyond wild, and it didn't stop. And just up until recently, have things kind of it seems, let's call it normalized. Mm-hmm. I know things are not normalized, but it feels like it from where we've come from. So going back to that again, that's me alluding to the fact that I don't think there's a bad house in this town because of how many people want to move here, how desirable in the area this is. Yes, there's broken foundations. The southeast area of Austin, the east, even pockets on the west side of 35. There is clay, caliche, expansive soils, but stuff like that can be mitigated. I mean, we have some amazing foundation companies around here. We have some amazing engineers that can come up with plans. And then at that point, even some of these foundation companies have been around for a long time. They're offering lifetime warranties. So we have the contractors. The hard part right now is because there's so many people, until we get balanced out, you just kind of have to wait. So again, it goes back to me saying somebody needs to know their tolerances. If you know your tolerances, at that point, you can get away with a broken foundation, you can get away with a roof that needs to be replaced. With these past couple of hailstorms, almost probably 1 in 5 inspections we're doing need a new roof. That's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, I'm even noticing some of the larger insurance companies coming out and they're saying, well, we're not going to insure this roof. So they're becoming more of a stickler. They're actually sending their adjusters out to assess before, the insuring roofs. So that's that's changed the dynamic of inspections. We used to go up there and see a couple of hail hits and yes, there's some minor hail damage. No repair is going to be warranted or needed. And now it's interesting. We'll say that. So going back to that, it all depends on how much deferred maintenance. So watch out for deferred maintenance. Obviously, foundation's always the big one. And older units. A lot of people, we had another home that we just inspected out in Buda. Unfortunately, the client had to spend, it was 100 or 150,000 over asking. It was a substantial amount of money. And, I think they gave that client, in the neighborhood of $40,000 to $50,000 concession because they knew it needed a new septic system. And this client did everything in her power except for one test, which was a sewer scan. We did a static because it had, foundation repairs. And so, and this kind of alludes to, what some people can go through, and again, what to watch out for, is a 1980s build. It had a remodel and it looked good, but you still ran into, I think it was a 20-year-old HVAC system. It was working at the time of inspection. There were evidence where the system backed up, but again, it was a septic system that was outdated and needed to be replaced. So, a lot of that, drain, there was a lot of just gunk and buildup around the drain system underneath the sinks. So, that things have been backing up. And then, of course, the septic guys came out and was like, the system's shot, you need a new system. So we go through, she did everything, static pressure passed, hydrostatic pressure test, I should say, which is evaluating the plumbing lines to ensure there's no break or separation. So that passed. And then sure enough, 3 weeks after she got a new septic system, things started backing up again. And the one test that she didn't opt to do was a sewer scan. And sure enough, the root system of a large tree, again, 1980s, very beautiful established oak that you're not going to do anything with, got its massive roots. And sure enough, when they jacked up the house, those roots just intertwined and intertangled in the drain system. But it was such a mass that it even passed the hydrostatic.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, again, maybe if the hydrostatic ran for an hour, meaning we looked for and wait for an hour. But, if we'd have done the sewer scan, we would have immediately seen that mass and said, well, okay, we gotta jump ahead of this. So again, in this instance, I've got, and I know you do too, some wonderful contractors that were able to get over there and immediately take care of it, pennies on the dollar, as opposed to some of the companies that would have come out and bid that. So, and again, that's what we are. So know your tolerances, make sure you've got a network of people that can assist you. A lot of investors do have that network already built in. Mm-hmm. So it's just getting an idea of how much things are going to cost for them. First-time home buyers, know your tolerance, know your knowledge level. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Because again, just seeing there's a lot of desirable homes in South Austin, but all those homes are 1960s, 1950s, or before, unless you're getting like a new townhome set up. So trying to take on those challenges, it can be a lot. Coming from a man who pretty much demoed his entire house, tried to put it back together, ran out of time, and had to hire a whole bunch of contractors to come in. So my wife didn't get mad at me. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate all the advice there, Lance.
Absolutely.
Moving on, we asked this question of every guest, and I'd just love to hear your answer. Do you
Yeah.
have a favorite business or mindset book that you like to recommend to people? I know you run a great business there at LGM.
Uh, uh, I'll be honest. My background is pretty much what has helped me envision the goal of LGM, the future of LGM. Uh, yes, I went to college, but my degree was in sociology. I was always a science major. I love biology, chemistry, and then of course the interactions of people. I've always found that fascinating. The one thing that I kicked myself for is I did not get a business degree, and I should have. I mean, it would have taught me a lot more than what I know now. But I go into every day, at least the mindset, with customer service background that I've forged for myself. My first job when I was 18 years old was fine dining waiter. So yeah, it was awesome, and the chef was like a father that probably wanted to beat me a lot for especially. I think my second day I spilled 2 teas down his CPA's daughter's back on her graduation day. I almost got fired for that. I'm pretty sure. That same day, he told me if I dropped another drink, I'm out. Like, you can't have that. This is not fine dining with people dropping drinks. So an hour later, I dropped 2 glasses of water in the previous owner's lap. Took off my tuxedo jacket, expected to walk out. He's like, "No, Lance, come here. That saved your job." I hate that guy. So all that aside, he forged, this concept of, customer service. I saw the way that man worked day in and day out, probably 80 hours every week. He was the chef, he was the restaurant owner. Him and his wife just took a hold of this business and made it theirs. And I saw the love, I saw the passion. And in this business, you have to have both. You have to have love for your clients. You have to have passion for construction. Anybody can learn rules. Anybody can learn how to build, but you have to take your time, and you have to go through every home and really pick it apart to find those things that are hidden that are going to bite somebody. Those $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 repairs. You can't just walk in 30 minutes, an hour later, and just say, you got a nice house. And the hard part with this business is training people and getting people that have that passion. Because again, if they're willing to give you time, and if they have, the intelligence behind it, you can train anybody. Well, I say just about anybody. You have to have a touch of OCD in this job too. So if you can find those characteristics, it really helps. But going through that, just a strong customer service base. And then, my daycare when I was, a kiddo, was volunteering at a VA medical center. So, yeah, it was. My mom was very impassioned with that. She was director of volunteer services. So obviously, I was doomed from the beginning. You are going to go volunteer. You are going to help people. And, you're going to take these life experiences. And it's funny, I had met a whole array of people, from all different socioeconomic backgrounds. And you get to see, and you get to empathize, and you get to learn these things that, kind of mold and shape you. But again, it really, I've done a lot of jobs in my life, and I've seen and talked to a lot of people. And all that has kind of shaped and molded how I run the business, how I want the business, to progress and move forward. But at the end of the day, I only run by one principle, that we are there for our clients, their needs, their wants, whatever that is, we do it. So, and if at the end of the day, if we don't set the expectations for our clients and give them the information and make sure that they get what they feel that they need, we failed. So, and I've just impressed that upon all the guys. It's like, no matter how you go about your inspection, that is the one thing that we have to do. Talk, communicate, get an idea of their expectations. And then at that point, once you have that information, you can bring it in, and then you can make sure that they get what they want so they are successful. So.
Awesome. No, I love that. So, Lance, if people are looking to get a hold of you and your company and maybe get some inspection work done, what's the best way to do that?
Well, easiest way is going to be calling our office line, which is at 512-808-0546. We have an online scheduler if you're more tech savvy and you don't really want to talk to anybody. And again, that's at lgminspections.com. Past that, you can text the number I just previously said. But at the end of the day, just let us know what you need. And what items you want. We'd love to be out there, be able to help.
Yeah, no, I love the text thing. I use that a lot for clients. So I'll just text the number and you guys get back to me right away. All right, last question here, Lance. What is your favorite restaurant in Austin?
Well, I got to be honest, it is going to be Madame Mam's. That place is delicious. So I got my first taste of Madame Mam's on the Anderson Lane location. I don't remember what we were doing on the day, but we were looking for a good Thai food place.
Mm-hmm.
Love Thai food. I may be white and pale, but I have a very spicy demeanor on life. We'll say that. So it's rare that any restaurant has given me a dish that they just don't do it. I just don't get spicy food. Not unless you go to a wing store that specializes and, here's a release document so that way you don't sue us afterwards. I'm sure I've never done that. But, I like my flavor. So go to Madame Mam's. They have just these most flavorful, they have decent spice and just aromatic dishes. And I've just never had a bad experience. So, and their spring rolls with peanut sauce, out of this world.
Awesome. I'll have to try that out. I have not been to Madame Mam's.
They've got a few locations. Anderson Lane is really good, and the one Galleria at BK's. They do a really good job too.
Awesome. I'll check it out.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on here, Lance. We appreciate your time. And again, anybody that needs to reach out, just go to lgminspections.com, or we will have that phone number here in the show notes so you guys can reach out to it. Thanks, Lance. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, Jordan. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.